If you're like me, then you probably have a lot of complaints when it comes to modern Call of Duty zombies. I vastly prefer the classic games, and I could spend all day listing off all my issues with Cold War and Black Ops 6. I'm sure you've seen countless videos of people complaining about the point system, weapon tiers, starting with whatever weapon you want, etc. So I won't waste your time with another multiple hour video essay. But I haven't seen any videos on the issue that I want to discuss today. Out of all the issues with the modern games, my biggest complaint is with the out-of-game persistent upgrades. It makes sense as a logical progression for the mode. From World at War all the way through Black Ops 3, every game of zombies played out pretty much exactly the same. You'd start with a pistol, slowly acquire perks and more powerful weapons until you had the ideal setup for the map. So it was only a matter of time before a way to make tangible progress between games was introduced. It started out innocently enough in Black Ops 3. Most weapons could be leveled up to unlock attachments like in multiplayer. Once you added attachments to a weapon, it would automatically have them whenever you picked it up in-game. The attachments were a good way to reward players for playing a lot of zombies without punishing anyone who didn't play as much. The most useful attachments were rapid fire and fast mags, but even these were just minor quality of life improvements. Most weapons would be just fine without rapid fire, especially if you use double tap, and since you could sprint while reloading, fast mags and speed cola were less useful than they had ever been in any other game. The only time they would really be necessary would be if you were camping. Black Ops 4 had a similar system, but they also added a few options for starting weapons and equipment. So now, not only could you deck out all of the weapons with whatever attachments you wanted, but you could also choose which of those decked out weapons to spawn in with. The different grenade types were all basically personal preference, except for the Wraithfire grenades. Wraithfires were so much better than all the other options that it wouldn't make sense to choose anything else. Cold War is where the upgrades really went overboard. Weapon attachments returned once again, but on top of that, you could also spawn with any weapon that you had unlocked. They also added a bunch of other upgrades as well. You could upgrade your weapon classes, perks, and field upgrades. Each item had 3 tiers of upgrades at launch and was later updated to 5 tiers. When playing through a game of zombies, you would earn Ethereum crystals for hitting certain milestones throughout the match, such as achieving certain rounds and exfilling successfully. You could then use the crystals to purchase upgrades for whatever items you wanted. My biggest issue with Cold War was the fact that they didn't have all 5 tiers available at launch. So even though I have 5 days worth of playtime, most of my stuff is only at tier 3 since I stopped playing before they added the last 2. They also stopped you from earning any more crystals once you had everything maxed out at tier 3, so even though they had announced the addition of 2 more tiers months in advance, you couldn't even save up your crystals to unlock everything once it was released, which made playing the game feel like a waste. And that's exactly what happened to me. I figured I would stop grinding dark matter and wait until I could earn more crystals again, but by the time they added tiers 4 and 5, I had lost interest in the game and didn't want to go back to play it anymore. Black Ops 6 has this problem as well, just to a much smaller degree. Thankfully, all upgrades were available from day 1 for everything that was in the game. The problem here is that whenever they add a new perk or field upgrade, you have to take the time to level it up to unlock its full potential. It's not that bad, but it's kind of annoying. It's basically like having to do all your homework before you're allowed to have any fun. The other issue I have with this system is the time investment itself. Time is the most precious of all resources, whether you're living paycheck to paycheck and barely scraping by, or a multimillionaire with a garage full of Lamborghinis and knowledge. We've all only got a limited amount of time on this earth. That's why it frustrates me to no end when video game developers don't respect players' time. It seems like every game these days wants to waste as much of our time as possible. Every game wants to be the only game that you have enough time to play. Back when Cold War came out, I had a lot more free time and could afford to grind away at all the unlocks and upgrades. But these days, I'm touching grass a lot more than I used to be, and so I only have 1 day of playtime on Black Ops 6. And with that 1 day, I barely have any of the upgrades unlocked. So even if I wanted to get back into Black Ops 6 zombies, I wouldn't be able to play optimally without spending literal days grinding through all the upgrades. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to say, wah, new zombies bad, make it like the old zombies. I can easily go back and play any of the zombies games that I enjoy whenever I want. I understand that this is the direction that the industry is headed in. Playtime is more important than ever, since the longer they keep someone playing, the more likely they are to spend extra money on bundles. I just wish that I could pick up Black Ops 6 and try the new maps without being at a disadvantage, because I haven't spent enough of my limited time on this earth grinding Liberty balls to upgrade my perks.